there, model railroaders. Mike Zabrowski here. We're going to actually go ahead and prepare this USA Trains GP38 to accept a RailPro LM4SG. It's a decoder, if you will. It's actually a receiver, 2.4 gigahertz, and decoder. The train will operate on battery power. I have dead track system, so I'm going to go ahead and start preparing. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build a switch for this. 22 gauge wire, 15 amp connectors. I have some particular stuff that I like on that, but I'm going to build that switch and I'm going to show you how to do that. First thing we're going to do, build the on and off switch and charging jack for this all-in-one. Okay, here we go. All right, we're here at the workbench, and this is my schematic that I created for myself. Now I'm going to use a double pole, double throw slide switch. I prefer that. This is actually a 6 amp switch. Running this on DC, it's better to have a little more. Yes, a toggle switch would work, but I prefer a slide switch. But here's my schematic. I'm going to be using micro Deans connectors right here for my connections. And this is going to be my switch layout. The battery, the charger, and then to the receiver. On and off direction, and then again my Deans connectors going to the charger. The charger already is outfitted. I have another engine running with this. So this is where we're at. Let's get started. This is the equipment I'm going to be using. My Team Checkpoint soldering iron, a 60-40 style radio solder, some flux, and a set of wire strippers. Here's my 22 gauge, both black and red wire. These are already cut to length. Pieces I need. My Deans connectors, my micro Deans connectors. The shrink wrap that I have here is already cut to length. This is how many pieces I need. They're cut to length. My switch, and I actually color code the wires leading off. Blue, battery, green, charger, yellow goes the receiver. So let's get started. You can see at this section, I totally did not turn the camera on, so I went ahead and stripped those red wires back, at least to the length where I was able to go across both poles, both sides of that switch. So anyway, I missed that. There it is. But those wires are 13 inches long, and that affords me a little extra room in case I need it in this particular engine. The last one I did 13-inch wires. That worked out pretty good. I'm actually, visually, I like to arrange the wires, kind of like the schematic. It helps me visually see things. I'm not good with schematics, so I have to kind of create my own, make things work for me. So I'm laying that out. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to strip the black wire, and I'm going to pull those back, and we're going to make the black wire set. I'm going to go ahead and strip that back about 1/4 inch, and the other one too. We're going to make like basically a Y harness here. I'll twist those two together right off camera. Beautiful work by me, I'd say. There we go. We're going to go ahead and tin that now. That's just going to make this whole thing a little bit easier. The area that I'm working in is actually a paint spray booth. The nice thing about that is it pulls those fumes right back. It's no problem. I'm going to go ahead and mount this in my no-hands unit. I'm going to go ahead and tin this chaser wire here. There we go. We'll get that Y connector soldered up. Now that longer piece of shrink wrap that I had cut, we're going to go ahead and slide that on and shrink that down. I just want to protect that. You know, this particular switch will be used inside the engine. It'll be inside the shell housing, so we don't really have to worry about a bunch of stuff here, but we just want to make sure that all of our wire connections are taken care of. And just like that, we've got our Y harness done. I guess we've got a piece of yellow tape on board. So again, I'm just going to kind of match that up just to show you what that's going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and slide this wire actually down through the channel that those red wires created. It's really not necessary, and but it helps me manage the wire bundle here. That's the side that's going to my receiver. Those are the sides that are going to go to battery and charger. Receiver. I'm going to go ahead and tape wrap this now just to help manage those wires, and it'll be yellow tape. It's going to the receiver. And apparently I'm doing that off camera. Brilliant. There we go. We'll go ahead and bundle wrap that here. This is just some cheap colored electrical tape I picked up. I guess I don't even know where. Now, one of the tricks to that is to cut it at an angle. And when you do that and you wrap it down on there, there's less chance of that very leading edge peeling back away. So I cut a little angle in it. You can see my two wires don't line up perfectly. I can't handle that well, so I'm going to go ahead and clip that. Add a little more tape here. Get those wires stripped back. Strip them back about 1/4 inch. This side will actually be soldered and tinned, or I should say stripped and tinned, because these will go into the clamp side of my receiver. RailPro has a nice little clamp set. I guess I'm not sure what that's called. That allows you to just attach the switch or the system to that via that system. We'll show that later when we start doing the installation of the RailPro. But for now, we're just building the switch. That one's going to the receiver. So that side's done. I'm going to put a little more tape on it. There we go. And there we go. Receiver side is done. Now we're going to do the battery end, battery side. A little bit of blue tape. And give it a clip and wrap it tight. I'll add another piece of tape just to manage that wire bundle. And again, blue to battery. Again, this is 22 gauge wire. It's a 6 amp switch. And I've kind of pre-cut and laid all the parts out to make this a little easier. Making yourself a kit of the components and items you need, that's a good time saver. Make sure you have a clear sketch of exactly what you want to do. And then one of the things that I didn't show is I'll test this switch before I install it in the engine. Make sure that everything's working correctly, that I didn't mess something up before I go ahead and put it into my expensive engine. Sorry about all the taping and stuff, but here's my chance to make sure that I don't mess this up and I manage this bundle and you know, get it right the first time. And confusion, this stuff confuses me, so it's a good challenge. It's a lot of fun to do. And researching the components I wanted, and I've used some of the stuff I've used in the past. I don't know, I found this to be really good. Those little Dean's micro connectors, they're a little confusing to use. I'm used to using them coming out of the RC hobby for years, but yeah, I really like those connectors. Very durable. We're going to install the first one, battery end. You can see the male pin is going to be the negative here. Strip back about 1/4 inch. I'm going to tin that end. Make sure you slide your shrink wrap on before you apply the connector. Yep, we've all done it. If you've ever done any of this kind of work, you've done it. I've done it. Everybody does it. At least, and it seems like you repeat yourself on that every once in a while. So it's a good idea to try to get that taken care of now so you don't have to take it back apart. So negative is going to the male pin here. Shrink wrap's in place. And just a little tap here with the soldering iron and it's done. Shrink wrap's good to go. Apply the shrink wrap to the positive wire and do the same thing on the female side. Go ahead and slide that shrink wrap into position and we'll set it. we'll move on to the charger. Square them off. Wires are tinned, shrink wrap, shrink tubing actually. Put our little Dean's connector so we understand it. This time male will be negative. And we've just about got it. Stick with us here just a little longer. We just about got it. So this kind of project, it's pretty rewarding. It's a very basic wiring project. I found that creating this schematic and just putting that into my head in a way that made sense really helped this project, especially using these micro Dean's connectors. I like them. I've used them for years in the RC hobby. I like them. They're actually a 20 amp connector. We'll never need that. If we need that, actually, we're going to have bad things going on. So for me, it's just a matter of getting a connector under that I'm used to, carry a lot of current if it needs to, just more efficient. And the shrink tubing. Yep. That looks right. That is our charge end. So when the switch is in the off position, it allows you to charge the battery. With the switch in the on position, it breaks that circuit. So the charging system's bypassed at that point, and it just runs right from the battery pack to the RailPro system. When it's off, I can go ahead and charge the battery again. There it is. If I need to shorten that wire, I can, but based on how much current this train actually carries, I just don't think we're really going to have a problem here. It's nice to have a little extra room in there. But there it is. Well, overall that went pretty smooth. I kind of missed the initial stripping of the red wires. So my wires in this case were all 13 inches long, plus or minus the little clip we needed to take as we get them to the correct length. Again, I use blue for battery, green for charge, and yellow for receiver. The receiver end actually has a set of crimp connectors on it, so we just go ahead and strip the end of those and tin them so they get pinched in that assembly. Anyway, so there the switch is done. To me, that's number one, and I want a really good switch. And when it comes to DC, I like to have a really good switch. So why did I build this? Why didn't I just buy one? Because I can, and I enjoy that. So that's how we do it. That's it. All right. So don't be afraid to give it a go. Got a nice switch. Got a nice little 6 amp. If I can get a hold of this. NTE 54668. That is a 6 amp switch. It's actually 6 amps at 120 volts. But what the research I've done and the things that I understand, I'm not an expert, is that rating is about max for DC. Now that's kind of an odd thing. If the motor was running and you turned it on and it was over 6 amps, the switch would have a problem with it. But if it was turning on a circuit where later a motor turned on, where it's not such a big deal, it'll be plenty in our case. But I want as little current loss as I can get going from that battery to that receiver just to make as much power as I can. So anyway, USA Trains GP38 getting a brand new RailPro system, and we built our own switch. That's the way to do it. Let's go. Hope you enjoyed.